The sound of shattering china echoes through the upscale restaurant as Maya's trembling hands lose their grip on the expensive plate. Her heart pounds as she stares at the porcelain fragments scattered across the marble floor, each piece representing another dollar she can't afford to lose from her paycheck. "Are you kidding me right now?" The manager's voice cuts through the ambient dinner conversation like a blade. "That's the third plate this week, Maya. Do you have any idea how much those cost?" Maya's cheeks burn with humiliation as nearby diners turn to stare. She drops to her knees, frantically gathering the pieces while her uniform rides up awkwardly. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Henderson. I haven't been sleeping well lately, and my hands are just... I don't want to hear excuses." Henderson towers over her, his voice deliberately loud enough for everyone to hear. "Maybe if you focused on your job instead of whatever drama you've got going on at home, we wouldn't have this problem. Before we continue, please subscribe." The words hit her like physical blows. Maya's throat tightens as she fights back tears, knowing that breaking down here would only make things worse. She can feel the weight of judgmental stares from the well-dressed patrons, their conversations reduced to whispers about the clumsy waitress who clearly doesn't belong in a place this nice. From her position on the floor, Maya catches sight of expensive shoes approaching. Handmade leather that probably costs more than she makes in 3 months. Great. Now she's blocking some important customer's path to their table. This night just keeps getting worse. "Please, just give me another chance," she whispers to Henderson, her voice barely audible over the classical music floating through the dining room. "I really need this job." But Henderson's attention has shifted to the approaching customer, his demeanor instantly transforming from cruel supervisor to obsequious host. "Mr. Blackthorn, so wonderful to see you again, sir. Your usual table is ready, and..." Maya glances up and freezes. The man standing above her is devastatingly handsome, in a way that seems almost otherworldly. His dark hair is perfectly styled, and his pale skin has an ethereal quality that makes him look like he stepped out of a Renaissance painting. But it's his eyes that capture her attention, ancient, knowing eyes that seem to hold centuries of secrets. Beside him stands a teenage boy who shares the same striking features, though his face carries a vulnerability that tugs at Maya's heart. The boy's gaze darts nervously around the restaurant, and Maya notices immediately that he's not responding to the ambient sounds around him. "Dad," the boy says, his voice carrying the slightly different cadence that Maya recognizes from her years volunteering at the community center. "Everyone's staring at the lady on the floor. Should we help her?" His words are clear, but carry the telltale signs of someone who learned to speak without being able to hear their own voice. Maya's heart clenches as she watches other diners' reactions. The subtle eye rolls, the knowing looks exchanged between couples, the way parents pull their children closer as if deafness might be contagious. The older man, Mr. Blackthorn, places a protective hand on his son's shoulder, his jaw tightening almost imperceptibly as he takes in the crowd's reaction. There's something dangerous in his expression, though Maya can't quite put her finger on what. Henderson clears his throat uncomfortably. "Perhaps we should get you seated quickly, sir. I apologize for the disruption." Maya's hands still as she realizes what's happening. They're treating this beautiful boy like an embarrassment, something to be hurried past and ignored, the same way they're treating her right now. The familiar sting of being seen as less than, as not quite good enough for this pristine world of crystal and silver. She makes a decision that will change everything. Rising gracefully to her feet, Maya brushes off her uniform and turns to face the boy directly. Her hands move in fluid, practiced motions as she signs, "I'm sorry about the mess. Are you okay? Some people were staring, and I wanted to make sure you weren't upset by it." The transformation in the boy's face is instantaneous. His eyes light up with surprise and delight, and a genuine smile spreads across his features. He signs back quickly, his movements animated with excitement. "You know sign language. I can't believe it. Nobody here ever knows how to talk to me." Maya grins, her earlier humiliation momentarily forgotten. "I volunteer at the community center downtown. I've been learning for 3 years now. What's your name?" "Adrian," he signs, then points to his father. "This is my dad, Lucian. We come here sometimes, but it's usually pretty boring because I can't talk to anyone except him. Maya glances at Lucian Blackthorn and finds him staring at her with an intensity that makes her pulse quicken. Up close, she can see that his eyes are the deepest shade of blue she's ever encountered, and there's something hypnotic about the way he watches her hands move as she signs. "It's nice to meet you both," Maya signs to Adrian while speaking aloud for Lucian's benefit. "I'm Maya." Henderson clears his throat aggressively. "Maya, you need to clean up this mess and get back to work. Mr. Blackthorn, if you'll follow me." "Actually?" Lucian's voice is smooth as silk, but carries an undertone of steel. "We'd prefer to have Maya as our server tonight." Maya's heart skips. Henderson's face goes through several interesting color changes before settling on an uncomfortable shade of purple. "Sir, I'm not sure that's the best idea. Maya is still in training, and given tonight's incidents..." Lucian's gaze never leaves Maya's face. "I'm quite certain Maya will provide excellent service. Won't you, Maya?" There's something in his voice that makes her feel both protected and exposed at the same time. She nods, not trusting herself to speak without her voice shaking. "Wonderful." Lucian's smile is polite but doesn't reach his eyes as he addresses Henderson. "Perhaps someone else could handle the cleanup. I believe Maya has more important matters to attend to." It's phrased as a suggestion, but something in Lucian's tone makes it sound like a command. Henderson practically trips over himself to comply, snapping his fingers at another server to deal with the broken plate. As Maya leads them to their table, the best one in the house, she notes, Adrian walks beside her, signing excitedly about everything from the restaurant's decor to his favorite foods. His enthusiasm is infectious, and Maya finds herself genuinely laughing for the first time in weeks. "He likes you," Lucian murmurs as they reach the table. His voice is low enough that only she can hear, and the rumble of it sends an unexpected shiver down her spine. Adrian doesn't open up to people easily. "He's wonderful," Maya replies honestly, pulling out Adrian's chair before moving to do the same for Lucian. "You should be very proud." Something flickers across Lucian's expression. Surprise, perhaps, or gratitude. Most people don't see it that way. As Maya helps them settle in, she becomes increasingly aware of the whispers from surrounding tables. Some are about her, the clumsy waitress who somehow landed the best customers in the restaurant. But others are crueler, focused on Adrian's animated signing, and the way he occasionally makes small sounds of delight that carry the cadence of his deafness. "Why is that kid making so much noise?" A woman at a nearby table complains loudly to her companion. "Can't his father control him better?" Maya feels her protective instincts flare, but before she can respond, she notices the temperature in the room seems to drop several degrees. Lucian hasn't moved, hasn't even turned toward the complaining woman. But there's something different about him now. Something that makes the hair on Maya's arms stand up. The woman who made the comment suddenly goes quiet, her face paling as she reaches for her wine glass with trembling fingers. Her companion suggests they ask for the check, and within minutes they're gathering their things to leave. Maya stares at Lucian in fascination. "How did you—" "Some people simply know when they're not welcome," he says calmly, but there's a satisfied gleam in his eyes that makes Maya wonder exactly what kind of man she's dealing with. Adrian, oblivious to the drama, is focused on the menu. He signs to Maya, "Can you help me pick something? Dad always orders the same thing for me, but I want to try something new." Maya settles into the chair beside him, temporarily abandoning protocol as she helps him navigate the extensive menu. She points out different options, describing flavors and textures in sign language, her face animated as she shares her own favorites. Watching them, Lucian feels something shift in his chest, an unfamiliar warmth that has nothing to do with the hunger that usually drives him. In 300 years of existence, he's never seen anyone treat Adrian with such natural, unforced kindness. Most humans either pity his son or treat him like a curiosity. But Maya speaks to him like he's simply another person deserving of respect and attention. "You're staring," Adrian signs to his father with a mischievous grin that's identical to Lucian's own. Lucian raises an eyebrow. "I'm observing." "She's pretty," Adrian continues, his hands moving quickly. "And she smells different from other humans. Sweet, but also sad." like flowers that are trying to bloom in winter. Sometimes Adrian's perceptions are too keen for his own good. As a dhampir, half vampire, half human, the boy has inherited certain enhanced senses, along with his deafness, though he doesn't fully understand what they mean yet. But he's right about Maya's scent. Beneath the vanilla perfume and the stress sweat of a difficult shift, there's something uniquely her that calls to the predator in Lucian's nature. And yet, watching her laugh at something Adrian has signed, seeing the genuine joy in her expression as she describes the chocolate soufflé in elaborate hand gestures, Lucian realizes that hunger isn't what he's feeling. It's something far more dangerous. She makes me feel less alone, Adrian adds, his expression growing serious. You know how it gets sometimes, Dad. Like I'm trapped behind glass, watching everyone else live their lives. Lucian's heart clenches. He'd give anything to take away his son's isolation, the burden of existing between two worlds, human and vampire, hearing and deaf. At least when they're among their own kind, Adrian's deafness isn't seen as a limitation, but Lucian knows how much the boy craves connection with the human world, and how rarely he finds someone who bothers to bridge that gap. Maya returns to her proper position as their server, but the dynamic has shifted. She's no longer just the hired help. She's become someone important to Adrian, which automatically makes her important to Lucian, and that's a complication he didn't see coming. So, she says, notepad ready, what can I get started for you, gentlemen? Adrian signs his order with enthusiasm, and Maya translates it aloud for the kitchen while adding her own recommendations for sides and preparation. When she turns to Lucian, he finds himself studying her face more intently than is probably appropriate. The lamb, rare, he says simply. Very rare. Something in his tone makes Maya pause, her pen hovering over the notepad. When you say very rare, I mean barely warmed, Lucian clarifies, his eyes never leaving hers. Some might say it's an acquired taste. There's something almost like a test in his words, though Maya can't imagine what she's being tested for. I'll make sure the chef understands, she says carefully. Anything else? Wine, Lucian murmurs. Something old. The older, the better. As Maya heads to the kitchen, she can't shake the feeling that there are layers to this conversation she's not understanding. But before she can dwell on it too much, Henderson appears at her elbow, like a vulture sensing carrion. What did you do? He hisses, grabbing her arm hard enough to leave marks. Mr. Blackthorn has never requested a specific server before. If you've somehow offended him. He requested me? Maya blinks in surprise. I thought you were just trying to get rid of me by giving me the difficult table. Henderson's grip tightens. Difficult? Are you insane? Lucian Blackthorn owns half the commercial real estate in this city. He could buy and sell this restaurant 100 times over, if he's unhappy with the service. Then maybe you should let me get back to providing it, Maya interrupts, pulling free from his grasp. There are red marks on her arm where his fingers dug in, and she rubs at them absently. Henderson's face goes through several more interesting color changes, but he can't argue with her logic. Just don't screw this up, Maya. For both our sakes. As she places their order with the kitchen, Maya tries to process what Henderson just told her. Lucian Blackthorn is wealthy. That much was obvious from his clothes and his demeanor. But the kind of wealth Henderson is describing is something else entirely. Old money. Real power. So why is he being so kind to her? And why does his son look at him with a mixture of love and something that might be fear? Maya carries these questions back to their table, along with the wine Lucian requested. A bottle that costs more than she makes in 2 months. As she pours, she becomes aware that they're being watched. Not just by the other diners, but by the restaurant staff. Everyone wants to know what makes Maya special enough to capture the attention of the mysterious Mr. Blackthorn. You look troubled, Lucian observes as she sets the bottle aside. Maya glances around the dining room, noting the curious stares and whispered conversations. I'm just not used to being the center of attention, she admits. Usually I try to blend into the background. Why? The question is simple, but something in Lucian's tone suggests he genuinely wants to understand. Maya hesitates, then decides honesty can't make her situation any worse. It's safer that way. When people notice you, they find reasons to criticize you. It's easier to be invisible. Adrian looks up from his bread plate, having caught enough of the conversation through lip reading and context. He signs to Maya, "But if you're invisible, how can anyone see how wonderful you are?" The simple wisdom of the question hits Maya like a physical blow. She blinks rapidly, fighting back the sudden sting of tears. That's very sweet of you to say." "He's not being sweet," Lucian says softly. "He's being honest. Adrian has a gift for seeing people's true nature." Before Maya can respond, their food arrives. She's grateful for the distraction as she arranges plates and ensures everything meets their expectations. But as she sets Lucian's lamb in front of him, she can't help but notice that it's barely cooked at all, practically raw, just as he requested. Lucian cuts into the meat with surgical precision, and Maya catches sight of the deep red juices that flow from it. For a moment, something in his expression shifts, becomes almost predatory. But then he glances up and catches her watching, and the mask of civilized humanity slides back into place. "Is everything to your liking?" Maya asks, though something about the scene makes her pulse quicken with an emotion she can't name. "Perfect," Lucian murmurs, and there's something in his voice that makes the simple word sound like a caress. As the evening progresses, Maya finds herself lingering at their table longer than professionally necessary. Adrian regales her with stories about his school, his friends, and his favorite books, all conveyed through rapid-fire sign language that Maya struggles to keep up with, but loves attempting. "He's telling you about his art," Lucian translates during one particularly animated sequence. "Adrian has quite a talent for painting." "Really?" Maya turns back to Adrian with genuine interest. "What do you like to paint?" Adrian's face lights up as he signs his response. Maya catches most of it, something about night scenes and the way moonlight looks on water, but Lucian fills in the gaps. "He says he likes to paint things that most people don't notice," Lucian explains. "The beauty that comes out after dark." There's something wistful in the way he says this, and Maya finds herself studying both father and son more closely. They're both pale in a way that suggests they don't spend much time in sunlight, and now that she thinks about it, she's never seen them in the restaurant during lunch hours, only for late dinners. Night scenes can be beautiful, Maya agrees. There's something magical about the world after most people have gone to sleep, like it belongs to a different group of people entirely. Something flickers across Lucian's expression. Surprise, recognition, perhaps even relief. "Yes," he says quietly. "Exactly like that." The moment stretches between them, charged with an understanding that goes deeper than words. Maya feels drawn to this mysterious man and his wonderful son in a way that defies logic. There's something about them that calls to the lonely parts of her soul, the pieces of herself that have always felt slightly out of step with the rest of the world. Their connection is interrupted by a commotion from across the dining room. A well-dressed couple at a corner table is gesturing animatedly at Henderson, their voices rising despite the elegant atmosphere. "This is completely unacceptable," the woman is saying loudly enough for half the restaurant to hear. "We specifically requested a quiet table, and we've had to listen to that noise all evening." Maya's blood runs cold as she realizes they're talking about Adrian, who has been making occasional small sounds of pleasure as he enjoys his meal, the unconscious vocalizations that many deaf people make without realizing it. Adrian hasn't noticed the complaint yet, but Lucian has gone very still in a way that reminds Maya of a predator preparing to strike. The temperature around their table seems to drop again, and Maya shivers despite her long sleeves. "Perhaps," Lucian says in a voice that carries clearly across the dining room, "they would be more comfortable dining somewhere that better suits their particular sensibilities." The couple at the corner table suddenly look uncomfortable, though Maya can't pinpoint exactly why. The woman who had been complaining so loudly now seems to have trouble meeting anyone's gaze, and her companion is fumbling for his wallet with shaking hands. "On second thought," the man mutters to Henderson, "we've lost our appetite. Just bring us the check." Maya stares at Lucian in amazement. Once again, he somehow managed to resolve a situation without seeming to do anything at all. But there's something unsettling about the way the complaining couple is now practically fleeing the restaurant, their faces pale and their movements jerky with what looks like barely contained fear. "What are you?" Maya whispers before she can stop herself. Lucian's gaze snaps to hers, and for a moment she sees something ancient and otherworldly flickering in those deep blue eyes. What do you think I am? It's not an answer, but it's not a denial either. Maya's mind races through possibilities that seem too fantastical to be real, yet somehow fit with everything she's observed. The pale skin, the preference for late dining, the raw meat, the way people seem compelled to do what he wants without understanding why. I think, Maya says carefully, that you're someone who cares very much about protecting his son. And right now, that's all that matters to me. Something in Lucian's expression shifts, becomes warmer and more human. You're not afraid. Should I be? Most people would be, if they knew the truth. Maya glances at Adrian, who is happily working on his dessert, unaware of the charged conversation happening around him. The truth is that you're a good father who loves his son. Whatever else you might be, well, everyone has secrets, don't they? Lucian studies her for a long moment, and Maya has the distinct impression that he's making some kind of decision about her. Yes, he says finally. Everyone has secrets. As the evening winds down, Maya realizes she doesn't want it to end. For a few hours, she's felt like more than just a struggling waitress barely keeping her head above water. She's felt seen, appreciated, maybe even valued, and Adrian has brought out a protective, nurturing side of herself that she'd forgotten existed. We should probably let you get back to your other tables, Lucian says as he signals for the check, though Maya notices his eyes sweep the dining room and confirm that most of the other diners have already left. Actually, Maya admits, you're my last table of the night. Most people don't dine as late as you do. We've always been night owls, Adrian signs with a grin that's identical to his father's. As Lucian handles the payment, leaving a tip that's more than Maya makes in a week, Henderson appears at the table like a bad penny. Mr. Blackthorn, he says in his most obsequious tone, I hope everything was to your satisfaction this evening, and please accept our apologies for the earlier disruptions. Lucian doesn't even look at him. Maya provided exceptional service. I trust she'll be recognized accordingly. It's not a request. Henderson nods so vigorously Maya worries about his neck. Of course, sir. Absolutely. As the Blackthorns prepare to leave, Adrian turns to Maya one last time. Will you be here next week? He signs hopefully. Same time? Maya glances at Henderson, who nods frantically. I'll be here, she promises. Adrian beams and gives her an impulsive hug that catches Maya completely off guard. He's warm and solid and smells like expensive cologne and something else she can't identify. Something wild and otherworldly that reminds her of night-blooming flowers. Thank you, Lucian says quietly as Adrian steps away. You've given him something precious tonight. You made him feel normal. He is normal, Maya replies firmly. He's just normal in a different way than some people. Lucian's smile is soft and genuine, completely unlike the polite expressions he's worn for everyone else tonight. You're remarkable, Maya. I hope you know that. Before she can respond, they're gone, disappearing into the night like figures from a dream. Maya stands in the empty dining room, touching the spot on her arm where Adrian hugged her, and replaying every moment of the evening in her mind. Maya. Henderson's voice cuts through her reverie. My office. Now. Her heart sinks. She's been so caught up in the magic of the evening that she'd forgotten about her precarious position at the restaurant. The broken plate, the earlier humiliation, the way she'd abandoned proper protocol to sit with Adrian. Any of those things could be grounds for termination. Henderson's office is a cramped space behind the kitchen that smells like cigarettes and disappointment. Maya stands in front of his desk while he shuffles through papers, drawing out the suspense like a cat playing with a mouse. Well, he says finally, that was unexpected. Maya stays silent, knowing that anything she says could be twisted against her. Lucian Blackthorn has never requested a specific server, Henderson continues. In 3 years of dining here, he's never shown the slightest interest in the staff. And tonight, he specifically asked for you. Not just once, but he made it clear that you're to serve him for all future visits. Maya blinks in surprise. He did? He also made a rather substantial donation to cover any damages from your earlier accident. Henderson slides a check across the desk, and Maya's eyes widen at the amount. It's enough to cover the broken plate 10 times over. "I don't understand," Maya whispers. Henderson leans back in his chair, studying her with calculating eyes. "Neither do I. But I'm not stupid enough to question good fortune when it walks through my door wearing a $5,000 suit. You're off probation, Maya. Consider yourself our specialist for unique clientele." Maya walks home through the city streets in a daze, her tips from the evening creating a comfortable weight in her purse. For the first time in months, she doesn't have to worry about making rent, about choosing between groceries and utilities, about the constant stress of living paycheck to paycheck. But more than the financial relief, she can't stop thinking about the way Lucian looked at her, like she was something precious and rare. And Adrian's joy when he realized she could communicate with him, the way his whole face lit up with delight and gratitude. When was the last time she'd felt truly needed? Truly valued for who she was, rather than what she could provide? The week passes slowly, each day dragging until Maya finds herself counting hours until the Blackthorns' next visit. She practices her sign language during her breaks, researching topics that might interest a teenage boy, planning conversation starters that will make Adrian smile the way he did before. She also finds herself researching Lucian Blackthorn, though the information available online is surprisingly sparse for someone Henderson claimed was so wealthy and powerful. A few business registrations, some property records, a handful of charity donations, but no personal information, no social media presence, no family photos or news articles. It's as if he exists in the shadows, deliberately avoiding attention despite his obvious wealth and influence. Which raises the question, what is a man like that hiding from? Friday night arrives with agonizing slowness. Maya spends extra time on her appearance, choosing her best uniform and taking care with her hair and makeup. She tells herself it's just professional pride, but she knows she's lying. When the Blackthorns arrive at their usual time, Maya feels her pulse quicken in a way that has nothing to do with nervousness. Lucian is wearing another perfectly tailored suit, this one in charcoal gray that makes his pale skin seem to glow, and Adrian bounces beside him with the eager energy of a teenager who's been looking forward to this all week. "Maya!" Adrian signs enthusiastically as they approach. "I have so much to tell you. I finished the painting I was telling you about, and I got an A on my history test, and Dad bought me new art supplies." Maya laughs, trying to keep up with his rapid-fire signing. "Slow down," she signs back. "We have all evening, and I want to hear about everything." As she leads them to their table, the same one as last week, which she's made sure to keep reserved, Maya notices that the restaurant seems different tonight. More subdued. She realizes that the usual Friday night crowd is noticeably smaller, and the diners who are present seem to be giving their section of the dining room a wide berth. "Is it always this quiet on Friday nights?" Lucian asks as she helps them settle in, though his tone suggests he already knows the answer. Maya glances around the dining room, noting the empty tables that should be filled with the usual weekend crowd. "No, actually, this is unusual." Lucian's expression is neutral, but something in his eyes suggests satisfaction. Perhaps word has gotten out that this is a place where all patrons are treated with respect. Some people prefer more traditional establishments. It takes Maya a moment to understand what he's implying. The restaurant's usual clientele, the ones who made faces and comments about Adrian last week, have chosen to dine elsewhere rather than risk another encounter. Somehow, without making any obvious threats or demands, Lucian has managed to curate their environment. "You did this," Maya says quietly. "Somehow, you made sure we'd have a peaceful evening." Lucian's smile is enigmatic. "I simply made it clear that this establishment values all its patrons equally. Those who disagree are free to spend their money elsewhere." As the evening progresses, Maya finds herself increasingly fascinated by the dynamic between father and son. Lucian is clearly protective of Adrian, but not in an overbearing way. He encourages his son's independence while remaining alert to any potential threats to his well-being. And Adrian, despite his youth, seems to understand that his father is someone to be respected, as well as loved. There's an old-fashioned formality to their relationship that speaks of different values, different expectations than most modern families. Dad's teaching me about the family business, Adrian signs during one of their conversations. It's complicated, but basically we help people who don't have anyone else to turn to. Maya glances at Lucian, who is cutting into another barely cooked steak with precise movements. What kind of help? Protection, mostly, Lucian answers, before Adrian can elaborate. There are people in this city who prey on the vulnerable. We make sure they understand that certain individuals are not to be touched. There's something dangerous in his tone that sends a shiver down Maya's spine, not entirely unpleasant. Like a security company? Something like that. Lucian's eyes meet hers across the table. We specialize in situations that require a more personal touch. Maya finds herself wondering what kind of protection services require conducting business at night, eating raw meat, and having the kind of presence that makes entire rooms full of people defer to your wishes without understanding why. But she's learned that pushing for answers isn't the way to earn trust from the Blackthorns. Instead, she focuses on Adrian, who is telling her about a school project he's working on. His enthusiasm is infectious, and Maya finds herself genuinely invested in his success. When he mentions struggling with a particular research topic, she offers to help him find resources at the public library, where she volunteers on weekends. You do that? Adrian signs, his face lighting up. Really? Of course, Maya replies. I love research projects, and the librarians there know me. They'll help us find exactly what you need. Lucian has gone very still, watching this exchange with an intensity that makes Maya's skin prickle. You volunteer at the library? On Saturday mornings, Maya confirms. I help with their literacy program. It's not much, but you give your free time to help others learn, Lucian finishes softly, even though you're working multiple jobs and barely have time for yourself. Maya blushes, uncomfortable with the admiration in his voice. It's important. Everyone deserves access to knowledge, to books, to the chance to better themselves. Something flickers across Lucian's expression, an emotion too complex for Maya to decipher. Yes, he says quietly. Everyone deserves that chance. The rest of the evening passes in comfortable conversation, but Maya can't shake the feeling that she's revealed something important about herself, something that has changed the way Lucian sees her. His attention feels different now, more focused, more intense, like she's become interesting to him in a way that goes beyond gratitude for her kindness to Adrian. As they prepare to leave, Adrian once again asks when he'll see her next. But this time, Lucian intervenes before Maya can answer. Actually, he says carefully, I was wondering if you might be free this Sunday afternoon. Adrian has been asking to visit the art museum, and I thought, if you're not too busy, you might enjoy joining us. Maya's heart skips. This feels like more than just another restaurant encounter. This feels like an invitation into their world, their life outside these carefully neutral walls. I'd love to, she says before she can second-guess herself. The art museum is one of my favorite places in the city. Adrian claps his hands together in delight, and Lucian's smile is warm and genuine. Excellent. Shall we say 2:00? We can meet at the main entrance. After they leave, Maya sits at their empty table for a long moment, trying to process what just happened. Lucian Blackthorn, mysterious, wealthy, powerful Lucian. Blackthorn has asked her on what can only be described as a date. A family date, yes, but still. Maya? Henderson's voice interrupts her thoughts. Everything go well tonight? She nods, still feeling slightly dazed. They're wonderful people. Good, good. Henderson rubs his hands together in a gesture that reminds Maya of a cartoon villain. Mr. Blackthorn left another generous donation tonight. Apparently he's very pleased with the service you've been providing. Maya glances at the check Henderson shows her and nearly chokes. The amount is even larger than last week, enough to cover her student loan payment with money left over for the first real grocery shopping trip she's had in months. But as she walks home through the quiet city streets, Maya realizes that the money isn't what has her feeling like she's walking on air. It's the way Lucian looked at her when she offered to help Adrian with his research. It's the pride in Adrian's face when he introduced her to his father as my friend Maya. It's the sense that, for the first time in her adult life, she's found people who see her as more than just a means to an end. Sunday arrives crisp and clear, the kind of autumn day that makes the city feel full of possibilities. Maya chooses her outfit carefully, not too formal, but nice enough for a museum visit with people who clearly have expensive taste. A soft sweater the color of wine, dark jeans that actually fit properly, and boots that don't have scuff marks on them. She arrives at the museum 5 minutes early, partly from eagerness and partly from nervousness. What if this is a mistake? What if she's misread the situation? What if they're just being kind to the lonely waitress, and she's built it up into something more significant in her mind? But then she sees them approaching, and all her doubts evaporate. Adrian waves enthusiastically when he spots her, breaking away from his father to bound over like an excited puppy. Lucian follows at a more measured pace, and Maya's breath catches at how different he looks in casual clothes. Gone is the perfectly tailored business suit. Instead, he's wearing dark jeans that hug his lean frame, a black cashmere sweater that clings to his shoulders, and a leather jacket that probably costs more than Maya's car. He looks younger, more approachable, but also somehow more dangerous. Like he's dropped some of his civilized pretenses along with the formal attire. "You look beautiful," he says when he reaches her, and the simple compliment makes Maya's cheeks warm. "Thank you," she manages. "You both look pretty great yourselves." Adrian signs something rapidly, and Lucian chuckles. "He says you're much prettier than the statues we're about to see, and he should know because he studied art history." Maya laughs, some of her nervousness fading. "Well, I certainly can't compete with marble goddesses, but I'll do my best not to embarrass you in front of the Renaissance masters." As they make their way through the museum, Maya discovers that both Blackthorns have an impressive knowledge of art history. Adrian signs rapid-fire commentary about techniques and historical context, while Lucian provides translations and adds his own observations about the cultural significance of various pieces. "You know a lot about medieval art," Maya comments as they stand before a particularly striking painting of a battle scene. "Did you study art history?" "You could say I lived through some of it," Lucian replies with a slight smile that Maya assumes is a joke about feeling old. "Some periods of history are more memorable than others." They spend the afternoon wandering through galleries, with Adrian sketching in a small notebook, and Maya asking questions that reveal her genuine interest in learning. More than once, she catches Lucian watching her with that intense, evaluating expression she's begun to associate with him making decisions about her worthiness. It's in the contemporary art section that things take an unexpected turn. Adrian has wandered ahead to study a large abstract piece, leaving Maya and Lucian standing before a painting that depicts a moonlit forest scene. The artist has captured something haunting and beautiful about the play of shadows and silver light. "This reminds me of Adrian's paintings," Maya says softly. "The way he talks about painting the beauty that comes out after dark." "He gets that from me," Lucian murmurs. "We've always been drawn to the night. There's something about darkness that reveals truth more clearly than daylight ever could." Maya glances at him, struck by the poetry in his words and the melancholy in his voice. "That sounds lonely." "It can be." Lucian's eyes meet hers. "But sometimes you find someone who understands the appeal of shadows. Someone who isn't afraid of what hides in the dark." There's something in his tone that makes Maya's pulse quicken. "What are you hiding, Lucian?" He studies her face for a long moment, as if weighing how much truth she can handle. "More than you can imagine. The question is, would it matter to you if you knew?" Before Maya can answer, Adrian returns to their side, signing excitedly about the abstract piece he's been studying. The moment passes, but Maya can feel the weight of unasked questions hanging between them. As they leave the museum, Lucian suggests stopping for coffee at a small cafe nearby. It's clearly an upscale place, but the late afternoon sun streaming through large windows and the comfortable chatter of other patrons gives it a warm, welcoming atmosphere. Adrian immediately begins signing about his favorite pieces from the museum, his hands moving so quickly that Maya has to ask him to slow down several times. His passion for art is infectious, and Maya finds herself genuinely excited about his plans for future projects. "Have you ever thought about showing your work?" she asks. "There are galleries in the city that feature young artists." Adrian's face lights up, but then he glances at his father uncertainly. Dad says I should wait until I'm older. Maya looks between them, sensing an underlying tension she doesn't quite understand. Well, there's no rush, she says diplomatically. But when you're ready, I'd love to help you research opportunities. You'd really do that? Adrian signs, his expression hopeful. Of course. That's what friends do. They help each other pursue their dreams. Lucian has been silent during this exchange, but Maya notices his hands have tightened around his coffee cup. Adrian's work is quite distinctive, he says carefully. It might be difficult for some people to understand. There's something in his tone that suggests layers Maya isn't grasping. All great art is distinctive, she replies. That's what makes it meaningful. Even if it reveals things about the artist that most people would find disturbing? Maya frowns, trying to understand what Lucian is really asking. Art is supposed to reveal truth, isn't it? Even uncomfortable truths. Especially those. Again, that intense, evaluating look from Lucian. Adrian watches this exchange with interest, his gaze moving between the adults like he's following a tennis match. You have a very generous view of human nature, Lucian says finally. Maybe. Or maybe I just think people are capable of more understanding than we give them credit for. Maya meets his gaze steadily. Most fear comes from ignorance. When you take time to really know someone, to understand their perspective, it's harder to judge them for being different. Something in Lucian's expression shifts, becomes almost vulnerable. And what if different means something that challenges everything you thought you knew about the world? Maya considers this seriously. Then I guess I'd have to decide whether I trust the person enough to expand my worldview, whether they're worth the discomfort of changing my assumptions. Lucian stares at her for a long moment, and Maya has the distinct impression that her answer carries more weight than she understands. Beside him, Adrian grins and signs something that makes his father's lips twitch with amusement. What did he say? Maya asks. He said you're exactly what he hoped you'd be. Lucian's smile is soft and genuine, and that I should stop overthinking everything. The afternoon stretches into early evening, and Maya realizes she's never felt more comfortable with other people than she does with the Blackthorns. Their conversation flows naturally between spoken words and sign language, covering topics from art to books to philosophy. Adrian's insights are surprisingly mature for his age, while Lucian's perspectives carry the weight of experience that suggests he's seen more of life than most people. As the sun begins to set, painting the cafe in warm golden light, Lucian glances at his watch and frowns. We should probably head home soon. Adrian has school tomorrow, and we both function better with consistent schedules. Maya nods, though she's disappointed that the day is ending. Of course. Thank you both for including me. I had a wonderful time. So did we, Lucian says, and something in his voice makes her look at him more closely. Maya, would you be interested in having dinner with us tomorrow night? Not at the restaurant, somewhere more private. I'd like to cook for you. Maya's heart skips. An invitation to their home feels significant, intimate in a way that makes her pulse quicken. I'd love that. Excellent. Lucian pulls out his phone and hands it to her. If you could add your contact information, I'll send you the address. As Maya enters her number, she notices that Lucian's contacts list is surprisingly short. Either he keeps his personal and business phones separate, or he doesn't have many people in his personal life. The thought makes her feel both privileged and protective. I should warn you, Lucian says as she hands the phone back. We keep unusual hours. Would 8 o'clock be too late? 8 is perfect, Maya grins. I'm a bit of a night owl myself. Something flickers across Lucian's expression. Relief, perhaps, or satisfaction. Good. I think you'll find we have more in common than you might expect. As they part ways outside the cafe, Adrian gives Maya another impulsive hug, and she's struck again by how warm and solid he feels despite his pale appearance. Lucian's goodbye is more reserved, a gentle touch on her shoulder that somehow feels more intimate than a hug would have. Maya walks home through the gathering dusk, her mind racing with anticipation and curiosity. Tomorrow night, she'll see how the Blackthorns live, what their private world looks like. She'll get answers to some of the questions that have been building in her mind. More importantly, she'll have the chance to deepen this connection that feels more significant than anything she's experienced in her adult life. Whatever secrets Lucian is carrying, whatever makes him and Adrian so different from other people, Maya finds herself ready to embrace it. After all, she's spent most of her life feeling like an outsider herself. Maybe it's time to find her tribe among the other misfits and night dwellers who understand that the most interesting people are often the ones who don't quite fit into normal society. As she falls asleep that night, Maya dreams of moonlit forests and ancient eyes, of paintings that reveal truths too beautiful and terrible for daylight, and of a man whose smile promises secrets worth keeping. Tomorrow night, she suspects, her real education in the Blackthorn family mysteries will begin.